Do use the proper tool for taking these star nuts off. I've seen so many nuts wrecked by people using pliers, or the pliers slip and you wreck your fingers. Or it wrecks the nut. Yeah, the tools. Anybody hasn't got a tool, I've got box tools of them, the pennies. This reel's in pretty reasonable condition because it's one I serviced for the guy not too long ago. One of the big faults we get with these Penn reels, and the 525s are even worse, is the spool release doesn't work properly, because what happens is it rounds off inside. You see a good one, you can just focus on that, you've got a hole with flats on either side, and what happens is it rounds off so it no longer grips on the flats on that, so you can't properly release the spool. And what then happens is people try to just tighten up the actual screw that holds the spool release on, and do what the guy's done here, has chewed up the head of the thing by using too small a screwdriver. Always use the right size tool for the job. Now that is basically all this reel actually needed, but as I haven't done a Penn fathom for my service series, I thought we'd just take it to bits so you guys can see how it comes to bits. I could have simply just replaced that lever and handed it back to the customer, but well, might as well give it an extra service when he's here. give it a quick clean up, and then we'll put it back together. Now this shaft for the level wind always falls out when you turn it up. It goes in with the shouldered end towards the handle side and fits in to the hole there, goes under the level wind in the hole there. Don't forget to put it in, regularly done. You get it all together, then realise you've got to take it all apart again to fit that one shaft. Pen symbol in line with the foot, little twist, it drops into place. Make sure it's sat down neatly. 3 screws. Do the screws up. I always make a habit of doing them up a little bit at a time, going round, rather than whacking one all the way in and then next and then the next. Don't know if it makes a lot of difference, it's just force a habit from working on car engines. Don't really think it makes any difference on the wheels, just tighten it down evenly. Star drag. Fibre washer, steel washer, carbon washer, steel washer, carbon washer, and the one with the raised bit on goes on top. Right, when we're assembling, you need to put the pinion gear in first, because the bottom edge of the pinion won't go past the actual main gear. If you look at the carrier for the pinion, on one side there's 2 very small sloping edges, the other side's flat. The sloping edges have to go down. That's the slider goes in. Pinion sits in that, goes over the shaft. Now it becomes apparent why those sloping edges face down, because that allows that slider to easily slide underneath. Springs go on the 2 posts. Now this large washer sits down over the main shaft. You notice this flats and have to sit square. This is the ratchet. This is a right-handed reel, so it rotates that way. So that goes with the teeth pointing backwards. That sits on there. So now the thing can turn that way and lock when it comes backwards. Take your drag pack. Notice the washer underneath. Hold the washers in place. Slides down onto the pinion. The raised washer goes on top. That small washer goes on top of there. Now when we're assembling, this slider needs to be at the top. This needs to be in the on position. So the little knobble there is at the top also, so it will go into that slot in the slider. That goes on there. Again, there's flats on it, so it'll only go on one way round. This goes on, carefully slide it down, and then the thing is to carefully get it engaged and make sure that that is actually engaging the spool. Now that band will go underneath there, hold it all together, get a screw in, yeah, I know I'm a little bit fumble fingered because I'm trying to hold it so as you can see what's happening. Put one screw in, then put the other 4 screws in. Sorry, other 3 screws. So ones with the larger heads go in. Right, handle assembly. These washers go on, followed by this, which again has flats on it, so it only sits one way. I'll be greasing there. Star drag goes on. That goes on. Handle. Power handle here, you've got two different holes. The idea is put on the hole that makes the handle long, gives you more power. Don't do it, you only rip the gears apart by using power handles. Reels are for storing line, not for yanking in, using as a winch. Tighten that round so that slots the line up. Handle retaining screw goes in. There you have it. Right, check the spool release works, and it does. Back the drag off, check the drag releases, and it does. Tighten the drag up. Make sure it's solid, definitely solid. Never leave reels with the drag done up because you can press the washers and make them stick together. Check the level ones go in. Absolutely all done simple. Basic simple kit that you can take apart and service most reels. Flathead screwdriver, another flathead screwdriver, larger bits, a couple of different size crosshead screwdrivers. Now bear in mind a lot of reels use what they call Japanese standard screws, and most people find that the crosshead screwdriver doesn't work very well. The reason being that the actual hole in the centre of the cross on the Japanese screw is much shallower than everybody else's. Now you can buy an expensive Japanese standard crosshead screwdriver, but if you just grind the tip off your standard one down a bit, it works perfectly well. That's all the difference is. Spanner, one of these reel spanners which takes the different size of star nuts. Please don't try to undo these with pliers and mole grips, you only damage them and end up slipping and trapping your fingers. Pair of pliers, kitchen towel, grease, Vaseline is perfectly good, it's clean, it's non-toxic. Bit of spray grease to get to the parts that are difficult to reach, saves too much dismantling. The most important piece of kit is a mobile phone, or to be honest, the camera on your mobile phone. If you're not sure what you're doing, take pictures. At least then you've got a record of how it came apart, got half a chance putting it back together. Simple.